Feel me? Yeah. Roll me a bone. Welcome to the Woo 508. Now you're in the zone. Chill up on the hill. See what's going on. See what's going on. I see what's going on. Got my team on, cause my team's strong. This ain't just for now, this for eons. This is season for the phenom. Man, I'm dropping heat like a demon. You know, a on 2 times that. We ain't fucking down, we ain't speak up. Never folding my hand, you know that is a bet. You not too for the woo, but you're rocking with that. Let's get it.
Woo! And we are here. Hello, everyone. Welcome. You are listening to the Woo 508 on Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection. I'm your girl, Liza, and I am here with my girl.
Hey, it's Chantel, y'all. What's up?
Guys, Q is not here today. He is having some troubles, some difficulties with that vehicle of his. I said, Q, get a new one. Although it's actually already new, but hey, whatever. But while he's not here, we are going to get into some things. We have a very special guest lined up, and we're just going to have a good time on this Saturday afternoon. So if y'all are here, let's jump into the number 5 song.
Number 5 song for this week is FTCU Remix with Chris Brown, Sexy Red,
Travis
and
Scott,
Travis Scott.
and Nicki. And we're back.
We're back in the building. That was FTCU remix. How you feel about that?
I actually like the remix. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little different for like we were talking off air about Chris Brown being the rapper. But before we get into that, let me bring y'all back. This is the Woo 508 on Unity Radio 97.9 FM. Worcester's Community Connection. I'm your girl Liza.
And I'm your girl Chantel.
And we are here on this beautiful Saturday. Oh, first off, happy 420.
Right.
Woo, woo, woo. So all y'all out there, especially in this area, make sure you get down to Cannabis of Worcester and enjoying the festivities going on down
The
there.
sales.
Yeah, all the sales. So get down there and have some fun. We were able to join them last weekend and we had an amazing time.
Yes, we did.
If you were tuned in, you saw we had Crazy Bone on air and we got to hang out with the owners of Cannabis of Worcester, Chantel and I, and we had an amazing, wonderful time. So, with that being said, we are here, and I figured today's 420 is supposed to be like a day of unity, everyone getting together, being peaceful and love and blissful. But listen, this music, honey, girl,
all beef.
It is nothing peaceful about this music that's going on. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it, Chantel. Oh, first off, let's say Taylor Swift, for all the Swifties out there, has dropped. And yeah, I think it was a double album. I know it's a lot of songs, and the Swifties are going crazy out there. And I heard that speaking of beef, I feel like a few people on one of the songs, but I heard that Taylor had a little beef Kim K on one of the songs. So I'm gonna have to tap into that. Yeah, I didn't
Everybody
get a chance to
has
listen.
beef now.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? And can I say Nikki may have set that off? Okay, all the barbs out there, stand up.
I mean, it's definitely giving music a new kind of like
fresh, revamped feeling,
like,
right? A different energy. I don't want to say it's scary, but it's a pumped up feeling. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe so. We're getting people ready for the summer, but hopefully this weather will get us into spring soon because it hasn't been much of a spring. But anyway, let's backtrack. Let's start from last weekend when Drake dropped his response diss track to Kendrick Lamar for his verse on Like That with Future and Metro Boomin. And I can tell you last Saturday was nuts, okay? People were going crazy talking about it, speculating. All of the jabs and the disses were insane. And can I say Drake was not only going after Kendrick, he threw a few jabs out at a few other people.
Everybody caught the smoke.
You feel like he threw a jab at J. Cole? I feel like he just was saying, I don't care what J. Cole's talking about.
I don't think he threw a jab.
Yeah,
he was just
I think he was just trying to say
J.
Cole
could feel that
side,
way,
bro.
but
yeah. I don't know what he's talking about, but this is what I'm talking about. And he threw a jab at a basketball player, John Morant, I heard. Yeah, Metro Boomin, Rick Ross.
It's crazy because all these people used to make music together, make bangers.
Yeah, they made so much good music together that I'm still gonna rock to. I don't care who's fighting with who.
Everyone's like, DJ Khaled ain't gonna have an album for a while because he just puts all these people on there.
Yeah,
on
but he's
his
actually
album.
Cool with all of them. So Drake, came at all those people, and I can say if I had to rate it from 1 to 10, what would you say, Chantel? What would you rate his response to? Yeah, his response to Kendrick.
I'll say a 7.5. Yeah,
I was thinking about a 7.5. Quasi thinks an 8. I'll give it a 7.5 because I feel like it wasn't strictly just to Kendrick. He threw other people in the mix too, but whatever. And I feel like he was holding back a little bit. And then, we go through the week where everyone's sitting and waiting for Kendrick to respond. Yeah,
I don't
understand. Then the whole time,
what was the drumline thing about? How was that a diss?
Well, Metro Boomin, because he's like kept saying producer, you do drums. I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's an
Oh,
inside joke, or
I
they
guess
actually
so.
know it's more of a dig. And so throughout the week, Drake has kind of been taunting Kendrick. But not only Drake, I feel like the listeners, the viewers, all the fans of this hip hop beef have been waiting. Like, come on, Kendrick, what you gonna do, Kendrick?
But
What you gonna
Kendrick
do,
doesn't
Kendrick?
drop like that. Like he's
Yeah,
not like a back to backer.
but when you call for someone, you need to be ready to be a back to backer. Like he stepped out on like that and said, da da da, Drake, da da da. It ain't no big three, it's just big me. He called for Drake. And Drake responded. Mind you, Drake was on tour. And after that tour was wrapped, he was ready to go. And he is ready
He
to
stay
go.
ready. Drake is
Yes.
always ready. He got like 2, 3, 4, 5 in the chamber.
I feel like it. And that's basically what he's been saying with his taunting. And let's also, before we get to his second response, let's talk about Rick Ross, who was able to respond within 2 hours. Talk
Rick
about stamina.
Ross,
He was
he's on
ready.
a whole nother level with it. Like,
Do you think he's doing too much?
yeah, like nobody even called for him. No
He
one
kind
even
of
who
was
sent for
called
you.
for. He kind of was sent for a little bit. Drake did jab, so you can't kind of be mad at him if you jab. Some people, yeah, he talked about a lot, and he invited his ex to his show. He was taunting him.
Petty.
Drake does a lot of petty stuff, though.
He
He's
does.
the petty king.
He is indeed. He is.
And they talk about Nicki being petty. Okay, well, anyway.
She started it like you
She
said.
did. But they come from the same camp. They come from the same cloth, right? So I think they're built for it. They're both built for it. And I don't think Drake really cares at this point. He's like, all of y'all came for me. It's not just Kendrick.
But they're still not doing anything.
They're not.
They
and
can't
that's the
even
problem.
tip the scale a little bit.
That is the problem. Now, there are a lot of Kendrick fans and there are a lot of Drake fans. But I think at this point, everyone on both sides, like I said, are waiting for Kendrick to respond. Like, how long, Kendrick? Why do you want to
Next
keep
year.
us waiting?
Next year.
It took Drake 2 weeks, but come on, Kendrick.
Kendrick
this is
ain't
2
saying
weeks.
nothing for
Well,
2
this
weeks.
is 1 week. This is 1 week. He has another 7 days, technically, according to
You got
Quasi's
7
clock.
days to respond.
I feel like he
He's
should have
not
responded
going
2
to.
days ago.
I don't think he's going to.
You don't think so? You don't think it's worth it? With Drake mentioning his wife?
Kendrick's wife?
Yeah. That Whitney line. Come on.
I don't know. We gonna get back into that, but we're gonna hop into the number 4 song by Kenny Mason. Yeah. And we are back. That was Kenny Mason, Can't Forget. And you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's
Worcester's
Community
Community
Connection.
Connection.
And we were talking
Yes.
about Drake, y'all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We're talking about Drake and his first response track to Kendrick. And now we actually want to tap into Rick Ross. His response to Drake. And so Ross, is a guy who is never quiet. So when you and he does actually have bars. You're right, Quasi. So when you call for Rick Ross, he is definitely going to respond. And can I say that Rick Ross has sustained the test of time because he has gone back and forth with none other than 50 Cent, who many of these
troll of all
guys out here,
trolls.
do not want to get into it with 50 because he is never ending. And
Shout
he's
out to
just
52 for opening his own
Shout out
studio.
to 50. Shout
Major
out to
moves.
50. Yeah, he's doing so many things down in Shreveport. And not only just opening the studio, he's also buying up blocks. And listen to me, y'all, blocks, okay, of businesses and doing so many different things down there. He wants to help to bring more economy to the community, more jobs, more growth, more advancement. And I think it's an amazing thing. I think it's a wonderful thing. I wish more of our veteran hip hop stars would do things like this. You know
Right,
what I
right.
mean?
50's just a businessman. He's just
Yeah,
smart.
and I feel like and I've said this, feel like a few times, 50 does not get the credit or the flowers that I think he really, really deserves. And I think it's because of the type of person that he comes off as is really like kind of a jerk sometimes, but I don't really think he's actually that. I think he's a super intelligent guy. And I
Definitely.
think that he's extremely business minded. And I think he's super focused. And I think people, like I said, don't give him the credit he deserves. So, with that being said, for someone like Rick Ross to go up against 50 is like a tough feat. So, and he lasted, he was able to sustain that. And now Rick
What
Ross is
what
going
I
at
don't
Drake.
like about the Rick Ross thing is I feel like some of his biggest songs were the ones that featured Drake.
That is true.
So it's like, why would you beef with the person that helped boost you up so much?
I feel like sometimes too that there is like sometimes what we don't know as the listeners, as the fans, there's always underlying issues, underlying
Behind the
tension,
scenes,
yeah,
right?
that could have stemmed from them creating so much music together that it is just sometimes you could start out as good friends and then turn into the worst of enemies. We've seen it happen time and time again, right? We've seen married couples, people who are super
Woo.
in love get married and then at the end they're like ready to chop each other's heads off and take one arm of the kid just to separate from
Rip the
each other.
baby in
Yeah,
half.
like literally. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's really interesting. So we're actually talking about beef. But before we do that, guys, I want to introduce our very special guest. I'm actually gonna let him introduce himself.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi. Hey. I'm the Calvin Klein Caterpillar. I'm talking. Yeah.
Get
Hey guys.
comfortable.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the talk, but I
That's
thought you were
okay.
like bringing up really great points.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we actually would like you to chime in, Calvin Klein Caterpillar.
Yeah.
Wait. Before we get into that, we just want you to give us a quick, we were in this middle of this conversation and I want you to chime in on your thoughts on what I was just talking about in terms of there
Rick
could be
Ross and Drake.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So Calvin Klein Caterpillar. I'm an artist from Boston, Massachusetts. And so yeah, I've definitely seen the discourse, and I think at least what they talk about in the songs, there's a lot of collaboration, but I think there's different intentions, and sometimes when people come together, it's like you owe me something. And I think as you go up the ladder, it's just this like ongoing cycle of like you owe me something versus like an actual connection. I'm kind of surprised
That's
because
a good point.
It's
Yeah.
an amazing point, and this is what I'm talking about. So
Indeed.
sometimes there are things that we, as the fans, as the listeners, yes, they're coming together to make great music. Like two people could come together to make a great child,
Mhm.
right? But at the end, sometimes they just go their separate ways. And I
Mhm.
feel like with music and like what you were talking about, Chantel, it may be a lot of emotions involved, right? And so with the emotions makes it even um more, I guess, more harsh, right? In terms of them communication and going back and forth. So I think that's super interesting. But we're gonna get back into that. But let's get into our very special guest, Calvin Klein Caterpillar.
Hey.
Hey,
Hi.
I'm
Hi,
Liza.
I'm Chantel.
Yes, and
Nice
we
to
are the
meet
Woo
you.
508. And we are
Right.
here, and Quasi is
Mine
back there
too.
doing the little producer role, right? That's usually my role. So, and I love Quasi because Quasi is actually really excited to have you here. He told us what an amazing artist you were, great performer. So we're super excited because we
Thank you.
really trust Quasi's music judgment. Like he's very particular about his music, very particular. And so, tell us more about yourself. You say you're from Boston. What part of Boston?
I live in Jamaica Plain,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Nice.
like right outside of like Roxbury.
And so Calvin Klein Caterpillar, that's a very unique, interesting name. How did you get that name?
Okay, well, it's a long story.
We love it.
But back in college, I think like 2017, that was like the time. Do you all know the rapper Guap Dad 4000?
No.
So Guap Dad
Her-
4000,
I
he's a
may know a
rapper.
I think I've
song by
heard of
him.
him.
Guap Dad. Yes.
Oh,
He
I don't.
Anyway, he's a rapper from LA.
Okay.
He's cool. And he used to like be like kind of semi-viral on like Instagram, and he would like make jokes. Like he's the dude, he talk like this, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm the Cardi here connoisseur. I'm the ball mean it." Like he would make these like jokes where he would be like, "I'm the this," and then like luxury brand, right? And so like me and the
Oh.
homies like we would make jokes like that, and I would like say I was like the Calvin Klein Caterpillar.
Oh.
And when I like started in like during 2017, that was also the time I started making music. I began making beats. I didn't like get on the track myself. Like I originally wanted to be a producer,
Oh,
but then no one
interesting.
got on my songs. But they were ass. I mean, they weren't good.
Oh, okay.
But they weren't good. So I when thinking of like a name, like I thought of like the Calvin Klein Caterpillar because that's like something that I was already playing with out of a lot of names that I find myself in. But I thought that that name was like really corny in like how I like conceived it as a joke. So like I wanted it to
Oh,
be like more
authentic.
intentional, like
Oh,
more like, oh, this has purpose.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like um I think in a lot of the spaces that I was growing up, I found myself like really like quiet and like to the back. I like
Mm,
to be like really respectful. And
mm.
then like when I'm performing, I kind of let it all out. And so like I think of my name as more like a metaphor.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know, this like caterpillar that's like kind of growing to become a butterfly on stage.
Ah,
And
so
then
it's sorry to cut you off, but it's more of a metaphor, not like a alter ego type of thing.
mhm.
Okay, got it.
And then also like it's like I'm really into like double meanings and like two
Mm.
things happening at the same time. So also like I enjoy like the Calvin Klein label because it's like it's kind of like this mask, this like very like beautifully designed mask that kind of hides like what's underneath. So yeah,
You know
that's
what's
one.
so interesting about that? Two things for me that are
Mhm.
really interesting about that. I love your name,
Thank you.
Calvin Klein Caterpillar, because I'm like you. I love words and I like double meanings and things like that. But also because I love the alliteration of it, right? I'm an
Me too.
educator, so I
Me
pay
too.
attention and that actually helps me to remember things, right? And then I also love it because when I was in college, I loved Calvin Klein, the brand. Like it was my favorite brand. And so now a lot of my college friends, I'm kind of synonymous for Calvin Klein, the brand. So I have a lot of vintage Calvin Klein pieces and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So for me, that's my connection to you.
That's real. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. And so you said you originally started out as wanting to be a producer. How did you transition into becoming an actual artist?
It was very fast. I think it was like month 4 of me making beats and dropping them on SoundCloud, and like me being near my friends and be like, "Hey, y'all mess with this beat?" And they're like, "Oh, that's cool." And then yeah, I was like, no one's doing anything. So then I kind of just started playing around with them and like, saying random stuff on them. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my own songs.
Since
Yeah.
no one's going to use my beats. Yeah. That's smart, though. I like that.
Thank you. I think it was a good decision,
Yeah.
honestly.
Do you remember the very first song you created?
Oh yeah, for questions exactly like this, I specifically like on my SoundCloud I've kept the first beat that I made and like the
Nice.
first song that I've ever made.
Nice.
I mean I can look it up. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
look
wait,
it
but
up. Look it up.
so the first beat that I've ever made, I wish I could remember off the top of my head, but
You'll remember from this point on.
indeed. I don't think I have internet here.
So, guys, we're talking to our very special guest, Calvin Klein Caterpillar, and we're talking about his transition from wanting to be initially a producer in music and thinking to himself a few months down the line, well, maybe I should start actually being the artist and creating my own music along with the beats I'm creating. And so he's looking up through his SoundCloud to find his very first song and his very first
I got it.
beat that he created.
Yeah, so the first beat that I made is titled Rain, I think. And then the
Mm.
first song I made was Damn, This Is Mad Embarrassing. Yeah.
That is hilarious.
I love it. So Rain, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
And then before we get more into
Yeah.
Calvin Klein Caterpillar, we're gonna get into the number 3 song, hyping up the beef a little bit. Rick Ross, Shit. Uh-oh.
And we are back, and that was champagne moments. Those are some moments. But you are listening to the Woo 508 on Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.
Connection.
I am your girl Liza,
And I'm your girl Chantel.
and we are here with our very special guest, Calvin Klein Caterpillar.
You can find me on social media at CKCDOT online. That's on Instagram. Yeah. Twitter, don't worry about that. That's a secret.
Uh-oh,
You don't
the
need to
Twitter's
go
spicy.
You don't wanna go down over there. But yeah.
Okay, so Calvin Klein Caterpillar. We talked about, your first beat that you created, and also your first song. What
Mhm.
was it like creating that first song? And also, like, tell us how you came up with the title of it, all of that good stuff.
Right. So damn, this is mad embarrassing. How that came about was yeah, I think when I make beats before back then and now, like I love to add like vocal elements to it because I'm really in love with beats like from Timbaland. And he would like
Ooh.
beatbox and just add like little vocal moments in there. So I would do that a lot. And so then I think I'm also like really into like, you know, like R&B from beats of Timbaland or like Dark Child. So I
Nice.
would try to like hum and like sing on it, but like I can't
Oh.
sing, so like it would be bad. So that's why it was mad embarrassing because I was singing on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Got it. Got it. I love that. And so, did you find yourself when you created your first song, did it change throughout time up until now? Like, what is your writing or creating process like?
Oh, so definitely so different now. Yeah, I think back then, um, I think all the muscles and skills I had to acquire and gain throughout the course of making music. This is like year 7.
Mm.
Then I didn't really know how to like make songs. My only real writing expertise or knowledge is through like poetry because like my roots are in like slam poetry in high school.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Thank you. So like doing this, I kind of was just it was it was one of those things where like it would be like I guess refrains of like singing and then like I would just basically be talking on beat,
Oh,
trying to like
okay.
do a poem on beat and it'd be really cringy. But now like there's so much thought in terms of like song structure or like what like I'm trying to say and how it's gonna flow into the actual bars or just like I'm thinking more on a bar for bar perspective versus
Oh,
like
okay.
I'm just gonna say stuff.
Oh, so maybe are you thinking from a producer mentality in terms of?
I would say that too. Yes. I think I am thinking from a producer mentality because I like to have the beat before I write anything.
Hmm,
Mhm.
nice. Now, you mentioned earlier that you were like growing up, you were particularly the kid that was kind of quiet, off to the side. And I wanted to ask, what is that like for a kid like that who now has to perform in front of audiences, even when you were doing your slam poetry? Like, how was that? And was it easy for you?
I think that respectfully, it is very hard.
Mm.
But I think me specifically, I've had so much time on stage and I've developed that muscle so much that it's just very like because I think it's also like while you're developing that muscle, I think it's also a mindset too.
Mm.
I think the way that I think about it, that it's not doesn't mean it's not like scary to me is that I think of like performance as a two-person job. I think
Mhm.
the person on stage, does their thing and tries to connect with the audience, but the audience also needs to show up too. And I think that in performance now and probably forever, the audience doesn't understand that they have a job. I think they
Yeah.
just understand that they're supposed to be there and they're never like kind of explained, what are the terms. And I think, with the roots that I have in education as well, like,
Mhm.
people don't know. You
Yeah.
have to talk to them and like it's not just teaching them, it's kind of walking them through it and giving them pieces to get to the point that you want them to get to.
Yeah. They call
So
it schema in education.
I'm gonna take that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Was anybody surprised, like, when you told them you were rapping, since you were like a shy, quiet person, that that you're rapping now?
I think people, because I recently I've been seeing like at the show too that I did recently on Saturday. Like I did see someone that I knew in high school so crazy, and they
Wow.
were also surprised that I
Wow.
rapped. But I think they're surprised that it's specifically rapping that I'm doing, but they're not surprised that I'm performing
Oh,
because I
okay.
think since high school I've been doing this. And I think even since high school I've been more uh extra than I am in real life. So
Hmm.
yeah.
I feel like sometimes, like, there's like a divine kind of path that we're on. And so, even when we're kids, we're doing certain things and we have a certain like character about ourselves, but it's actually just leading us up to where we're actually supposed to be, if that makes sense, right?
Mhm.
So although, some kids out there may be shy and quiet, but they still have like certain gifts that are going to come out that they don't even realize are going to come out, right? Because like I said, as an educator, I see that a lot in young people. I see there are many who are super talented, super gifted, but they just don't have
Mhm.
not even discipline,
Just
the confidence
mm,
to understand that they don't need to fear
yeah.
sharing their gift, right? But a lot of people are fearful of like the criticism and all you know, the backlash they may get for just sharing their craft. And it's hard for a lot of people to do that. That's why I think I give you credit for being able to transition from being looked at as that type of kid to be
Mhm.
able to perform. It gives people a lot of hope and inspiration to be able to do that. I think myself, I was particularly a kid that was like, I use my I use being like outgoing and fun and this as kind of like a mask for
Mm,
my shyness or my
mhm,
uncomfortableness. Sometimes I would be uncomfortable in large groups, but I felt like if I took over the group, then
mhm.
it would kind of cover up the uncomfortability of it all. So I appreciate that. It's interesting.
Thank you. That was really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
So I also wanted to ask, the slam poetry to me is interesting too. What is that like when you're creating pieces? And do you go off of like a moment? Like, does something happen in the moment? Like, is there an event in the news? Are you going off strictly emotion? Or do you do it to create music after?
So so well back then it was like during 20, let's say 2014, 2017. So like it was very situational. I think like me and like my like slam team of poets, like we were a little different than like the usual people, but in the scene during that time, it was like it was one of two routes. It was hyper like political or hyper like um gender violence.
Mm,
So like we would be talking about like, you know, the disin disin disadvantagements? No, the disadvantages. Yes, the
hmm.
disadvantages of like being black, period.
Yeah.
And like, the many different like massacres that happened during that time. Like in like very clear detail. It was
Wow.
kind of crazy. And there or it would be like a lot of like different like, women or like femmes just kind of talking about like these different situations they had like where they were taken advantage of.
Hmm. Hmm.
I like sometimes like, the people that like were in my slam poetry group, like we would like kind of try to take more of like a narrative based approach. I
Hmm.
remember like specifically like you can find a video of me like doing this like it's like me embodying Christopher Columbus,
Wow.
and I was like talking about like I guess the aftermath of like his voyage and like how he was like, "Yo, dang, I work for y'all." The Spanish Inquisition, I work for y'all. I
Mm,
didn't get nothing back. That's crazy. Like, what the hell? Like, I can't believe it. But I just did that because
wow.
during that time, like, I was super into Hamilton, and I was like, "Yo, let me flip some on his head too. Like, let me be different too." But
That's amazing, though. That's an
yeah,
interesting perspective too,
thank
that
you.
people don't really think about. Like, Where
Shout
can
out to
people?
poetry
Yeah,
because it's Poetry Month, National Poetry Month.
yes,
Yep.
It is National
It
Poetry
is.
Month, and there's actually a teen poetry slam happening next week in Worcester at the White Room. So
nice, nice.
teens 13 to 19, if y'all are interested, come on down to the White Room and get your voice heard, get those poems out.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really awesome. I think rap is
I
poetry.
think so
Yeah.
too.
It's where it started,
Mhm.
I
like,
think
you
so
know,
too.
and that's where like Lauryn Hill, like
Mhm.
a lot of artists were like poets 1st,
Mhm.
and just to have that lyrical, I don't even know the word,
Yeah,
just
it's like a
like
feeling. I feel like it's an energy that's
Mhm.
given off, right? And just to mention Calvin Klein Caterpillar, when you talked about sometimes the audience doesn't realize that they have a role to play, right?
Mhm.
I feel like sometimes it's maybe like a give and take of energy, right?
Yeah,
So you could
very
be
much so.
performing, and sometimes if the crowd is not giving a certain energy, it may turn your performance one way or another,
Mhm.
right? But sometimes if you're given that certain, I always think about DMX, right? Because
Mhm.
when I saw DMX perform, he was literally performing with an asthma pump in his hand, right? But and he was like, "Shh," and then just like going, going, going. But I really feel like he was going off of the energy from the crowd. You know, it could have been other things people may have said, but no, I really don't think that. I really think he felt like energy because he had a really deep spiritual connection, and I know that he could feel the energy. And I think sometimes energy can uplift people, and energy
Mhm.
can also bring people down. So explain
Mhm.
more of what you meant when you talked about the audience having a specific role.
Right. So basically, like, I think how people understand performance as an audience is it's very white centric. It's very like
Mhm.
we sit down, we watching, word, we're told to clap. Yay. And I think that's so like not good for an actual good show. Like if I bring like I bring a lot of these things back to like my days in poetry. So like my days in poetry, like usually when you're at a poetry slam,
snapping.
you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But we would force it. And me specifically, I would really force it. So basically, we would have like sayings, we'd be like, go in, poet. We'd be like, don't be nice. Remember why you wrote this.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people like the young people in that during that time, like we'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, get that. Like we'd
Mm.
be going
That
crazy. We
feeling.
would act
Mhm.
like it was like a rap, not a rap battle, but like like the Smack DVD, like those things.
Mm.
We'd be acting like that. We'd be
Yeah.
like making it like mad crazy, and I would be like screaming in the back. There, like back in that time, it was like one of these slams where like people were like competing to get into like the individual competition, like the national competition,
Mhm.
and like I was going so hard. They'd be like, you're gonna. I think you have to leave. Like that. They told me to leave. I had to leave out the
You were
function.
too passionate.
Indeed. So like I try to like take that back into like every performance I have, now. Like even like I'm not gonna fully bash, but I just like was performing with my homie TT. And we were at this university, and like the sound was bad, but also like the people there, like they were just chilling. They were just chilling. And it was to a point where Chichi was like, yo, I need all y'all to stand up.
Or do
And
something.
they stood up for like a second and they're like, I'm
All
gonna sit.
right.
Mm.
I was like,
I think
Wow.
that's why like places like the Apollo was so successful because the
Right.
crowd was so
Yeah.
amped and like they would even boo you off, like which
Yeah.
would suck for artists, but like would
But you
motivate them to be like, I can't go out there and do some
Well, you
crazy.
had to be really good and really had to like sustain all of that critique and criticism and be able to come back. With that being said, though, we need the listeners and the audience out there to do their part. Keep your
Yes.
energy high.
Keep your
Stay
energy
tuned.
up.
We're getting into the
And right
next
now we
song.
need you to do some push-ups with Drake.
Yes. We are back. You are listening to the Woo 508 on Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection. And that was was it
Number 2 song, Push Ups
Mm.
by Drake.
I hope y'all were doing your
Drizzy.
push-ups out there. I
Yeah.
hope you were doing your push-ups. But we are here with our special guest. We've been doing our push-ups in here. Okay.
Okay, for real.
Yeah.
Summer's coming.
Yes. And we are with our special guest, Calvin Klein Caterpillar. And he is here with us, joining us on the Woo 508. And we've been having some good talk, y'all. So I also want to give you another chance to let people know where they could find you, where they could listen to your music, also where they can see some of your videos of your poetry and stuff like that. I know you mentioned that there was one out there.
So my Instagram is at CKCDOT online. It's gonna be a cool picture of me with a hat. You can find my music everywhere as Calvin Klein Caterpillar. You got to search the whole thing as one word, no caps, or you won't find me.
No space, you mean?
Yes, no space.
No spaces, no underscores, no nothing.
And then, yeah, I mean, my name is Dubem Okafor. If you search that,
Nice.
poetry, you'll find a couple stuff. I
How
hope
would
you
they
don't-
spell that?
So that's DUBEMOKAFOR.
Now, is that your original name?
That's my real name.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, what nationality is that?
I'm Nigerian. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm Ghanaian. So West Africa in the house, in the Caribbean.
A little Jamaica in
I
here.
love it. And most of you guys came
Y'all
from West
are
Africa anyway.
the
so,
Ghanaian
hey.
and Nigerian jollof beef
Yes,
right here.
it's the jollof beef over here.
There's no beef. There's no beef. I had it. I've had it.
So you know Ghana is
It's
number
cool.
one.
No,
I didn't say
he
that.
doesn't say that.
But it's good though.
He'll be saying that soon. Don't worry. Don't worry.
I'm
y'all.
giving the
Don't worry.
unpopular opinion that I think I like Liberian jollof.
Oh, girl.
Okay.
Get out of here.
Good Liberian jollof, but I like both too.
If Willette were here, she'd say the same thing, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so now Calvin Klein Caterpillar, I do want to ask you, who are some of the artists? I know you mentioned Timbaland as a producer, right? Who are
Yeah.
some of the artists out there that you kind of like or listen to when you're
Yeah.
not listening to your own music?
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a very extended answer. So
Mm.
I'm gonna just try to give you. Can I give you like? I'm gonna give you like 5.
Top five, top
Absolutely.
five, top
We
five.
love it.
It's not.
We
It's
love
not.
it.
It's not top. No.
No.
A5. Not
But
top,
yeah,
just A.
I primarily listen to like people like from my scene. So I listen to people that like make music in Boston.
Oh, okay, I love it.
So I guess I'm just gonna shout out a couple people. I'm a shout out Morris Savage. People over there.
Yes.
I'm a shout out TT. That's my dog. I'm a shout out Sane. He's about to like go to LA soon, probably.
Nice.
I'm a shout out dang, there's too many people to shout out. I'm a shout out like Nate Nix. He's pretty good. He's pretty
Nice.
fire. There's Clark D. He's in like Atlanta right now. And no, I'm saying too many men. Let me talk about that make music. Ooh. Oh, I was just with Sonali yesterday.
Nice.
She's a very great singer from like I think she's in Randolph, but like, we're close enough.
Nice.
The
In
local
this area,
scene.
yeah.
And then I think the last person I want to talk about is let me see. Oh, there's Sosa. There's Big Sosa. And dang, there's a lot of names. I'm gonna just
Yeah,
do the
me
last
too.
person, the last project I have downloaded on my phone.
Absolutely.
Oh, let me talk about Confused with a K. Like I know I just shouted him out.
Yay, friend
But
of the
I
show.
just listened to Rain. That song's fire, bro.
It is fire. I thought the same thing too. Shout out to Confused with the
Yeah.
K, because when I first saw him perform, we did a Worcester We Outside event down
Ooh.
at Electric Haze, and he was a performer. Amazing. Like he's super duper talented. I love his music, and he's also been a guest of the show. And we actually consider him a friend of the show,
Right.
right? All those guys. So yeah. That's nice. I actually particularly love how when we have Boston artists come on the show and we ask the same question, for some reason you guys all support each other. And I really, really love that, because there has been an age-old question of do Boston artists support one another, right?
Mhm.
And I can say that here on the Woo 508, we have seen and heard you guys supporting each other. So shout out to you guys for uplifting each other, shouting each other out, because we get that a lot from the Boston artists, and I love that.
Of course.
Can you talk about your most recent song or project?
Oh, okay. So
You just performed recently,
I
correct?
did. I just performed. So I just recently. So easy because I was like it was on Wednesday, but now it's like 2 weeks ago. I
It's an
put out
eternity.
like a 3-pack like EP mixtape
Make sure you guys go
type
check that
beat.
out.
It's called New Media from the BBB. It's so complicated, but basically it's part of like a new era for me.
Okay.
Yeah. There's 3 songs on it. It's a little just a little, it's me kind of having fun. Like the last project that I had, it's called So Sexual. It was like a album full of like meaning and intention and like I had to play for it. And now like before I go into like my next big thing, I just kind of putting out stuff that I just experimented with, because that's my roots. Like when I was putting songs out on SoundCloud, I was just doing stuff
and having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So get into your number one song for us.
Yeah, so-
Introduce your number one song.
My number one song is Confess by Calvin Klein Caterpillar. It's not good. Thank you. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh.
Woo!
Hey.
And we're back. And we're just going to close out, guys. So we're going to let our special guest, Calvin Klein Caterpillar, make sure you go check him out. Close out the show.
Drop some gems on him.
Hey, it's me, Calvin Klein Caterpillar. Thank y'all so much for having me. This is the first time I've ever been on the radio like this.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was my song. It was pretty fire.
It was fire.
Confess.
Yes.
Yeah. I love, mixing of like the different places in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I think that we make really great music, and no one's gonna know unless we all like really are passionate about it.
I love it. And there you have it. Calvin Klein Caterpillar. Go check him out on all platforms. Make sure you listen and tune in. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
finna feel me.